Houston.
I'm Freddie Robbins.
I'm Ben Coode-Adams.
And we, together with our fellow creatives, we're the Blackwater Polytechnic.
The Blackwater Polytechnic is a collective of artists and creative people who came together to use the resource of this barn that we're in, which Freddie and I caused to be converted into a house and studio. The architect our architect Anthony Hudson designed the building in such a way that it had to be built in a completely untypical way. So we had to retrain builders and carpenters and plumbers and electricians to think differently. And we felt that method of thinking and working was best reflected in the Polytechnic, as we were making and learning at the same time.
So that's why we called it a Polytechnic. And the Polytechnic is called the Blackwater Polytechnic because we live very close to the Blackwater River.
We do indeed.
So one of the things I really like about being part of the Polytechnic is it's something you can be part of, but not all the time. But I like the way it's there, and that kind of psychologically, you know that people nearby you in this relatively rural location are being creative in their own spaces too, in different ways. I really enjoy that intellectually as well, that people can make things in different ways and they've come to it in different ways. And I think there's a real strength in knowing different types of creative individuals who have come to their creativity in different ways, some through formal training, some through kind of practicing a skill for many years. I think that's really empowering to understand that there isn't just one route into a creative life.
So for me, I absolutely love sitting here in my studio painting, but it doesn't really help anyone else. And I think that it's very important that craftspeople, artists, creative people come together in a common endeavour to do something that's does occupy a commons or a shared resource or a way of working or a set of skills. And I think that leads to interesting things happening that come from outside yourself. So I think when I'm doing this, I'm within bounds. I'm in complete control, and so it's entirely predictable. Whereas when you work with other people, it's entirely unpredictable.
Okay, so I made the knitted words that are hanging on the tree. I made needles, which is also needless, and I made discomfort. And those words are made from thin knitted strips, which I then write like a cursive script into words. And one thing that I really like about the words is they just become like a kind of abstract nothingness. So this is soft-hearted, and this is hopeless, and this is careless. And I love the way they become something when you kind of hold them out and try and make sense of them, try and find the word in them. So with Tree, we all made kind of separate pieces of work, but not physically, but I suppose intellectually and creatively, the work was passed between us. So I came to it a bit later on when the form had been made, and then I tried putting my words on it, and simultaneously Sarah was putting her chain words, and then we were trying to find a way for Justin's piece to sit with it. And so the pieces, they come together kind of uncomfortably. The piece wasn't designed and made as a whole from the start, but the different elements of work come together to make this tree. And I really enjoy that no one's work was compromised by it. Everyone's work sits together, but it's not necessarily comfortable. And I guess that's one thing that I feel quite strongly about the commons, the idea that people come together and do things for the common good, and everything is comfortable and everything works out neatly is impossible, because people just aren't like that. And so I like the way that our sculpture is awkward, and it is not exactly difficult, but aesthetically there's an awkwardness to it, which I do think is representative of trying to work together.
My name is Sarah Impey. For many years now, I've been making stitched artworks based on the techniques of quilting, but they're not quilts as you think of bedspreads. They're wall hangings mostly, or sometimes three-dimensional objects. And for the last 20 years, I've been using stitched text in my work, free motion machine stitching, which means I'm in control of the direction of the stitched line. And I've developed my own kind of stitched handwriting. And I use it to comment on social or political concerns, or sometimes personal interests. And at the moment, I'm making a few pieces about the threats to democracy, which I think is very, very current and actually quite a difficult thing to interpret visually. I suppose the common ground between commoning and craft is all to do with skill, disseminating skill, which is not something I do with Blackwater Polytechnic particularly, but I do give talks and do demonstrations and things like that. And I think you find, particularly in the textile crafts, which are what I know about best, that there is a vast audience, if you like. There are a lot of participants, and people love coming together. There are a lot of groups for knitting, quilting, all sorts of things, beading, and people love to pool resources, to meet with like-minded people, to pick up skills and ideas. And I think with Blackwater Polytechnic, it's possibly on a slightly more rarefied level, but there's definitely a sense in which this craft is something that we all have in common, and getting the work out there, other people seeing it, is part of that. And that's what Blackwater Polytechnic have given to me, is an opportunity to reach audiences that I wouldn't do in my normal, quite enclosed world of the textile arts and quilting and things, which is a very big world, as I say, but it tends to operate under the radar a bit, partly because it's very female dominated. And I love exhibiting with people whose crafts and skills and problems and challenges are completely different from mine. And I just love learning about it. And it's a great way to get our work out there. Well, I suppose what commoning means within the context of Blackwater Polytechnic is a shared opportunity to exhibit and also to meet with like-minded people and to get the work out there. I think the thing about Blackwater Polytechnic is that we are all incredibly local. We all live within about a mile and a half of one another, which in the context of somewhere like London doesn't sound much, but in a fairly rural area like this is quite surprising. And I've always lived around here. I've known Ben's family for many years, although I haven't known him himself. My family were also farmers in this area, both sides of my family, all four of my uncles, and both my grandfathers were farmers. and I feel very wedded to this area, and it's wonderful to come together with people whose work I respect and value, and we're all working in such a tiny geographical area. We don't actually work, apart from this one exhibition, I've never actually worked collaboratively with them before. It's more a question of they have an exhibition and they come along and see if I have anything that might suit to go in it. But this is the first time we've actually, as it were, made a piece together, or rather Ben made a piece and we all made bits to go on it. But it's very rewarding to do that, and it takes you, I hate the phrase, but it sort of takes you out of your comfort zone. And I had to think quite hard about what I did for this particular installation. I knew it was about commoning and coming together and working together. Being quite a literal kind of person, interpreting stuff literally, because my background is languages and journalism rather than art, I made this chain that goes on the sculptured tree, and on each link of the chain is a quotation about the nature of the society and the relationship of the individual to society. And some of them are quite well known, some of them I had to hunt for, one or two I made up. And that's how I came to be involved, and it's been a wonderful experience being involved with it. And finally seeing the exhibition, because it's come to Colchester, having only seen it on Zoom before. And it's all been great fun and very rewarding.
Easy. My name's Simon Emery, proprietor of the Paint Box in Coggeshall, Essex. This is where we do what we do. It can range from building people's dream cars like this, to working on old race car projects, art projects, design projects, predominantly custom paint on the art and the more creative side, which we're trying to kind of convince the masses that everything should be custom painted. But through Blackwater Polytechnic and through Ben and Freddie, we've actually been able to kind of flex our artistic muscles a bit, and try different approaches to what we do and different surfaces to paint, and trying different techniques and colours, with semi-opaque to solid colours, to all sorts of bits and pieces. Thankfully, down to Ben and Freddie and their encouragement. Lovely people who kind of said that we should try a few art pieces and all the rest of it, which we did, and that was quite successful. And I think what that's done with me personally as well is just opened up, being a little bit more artistic with it all, and a bit more willing to sort of try some different approaches and different way of looking at everything. And that, I think, is probably the big thing from Blackwater Polytechnic. It does make you think differently about everything. And obviously working with everyone else on projects as well, like the tree, that's been really interesting. Seeing how people create what they create and how they use their craft, and seeing that all come together in one piece has been really, really rewarding as well. You then get to meet people from different creative backgrounds, and then there's always the possibility, once you start talking to people, of just starting to flex your artistic muscles a bit and think where you could kind of work together. It doesn't always necessarily work. Sometimes you can try and do things, and they just don't work with paint. But then that kind of puts you into a slightly different challenge of trying to work out why it doesn't work, and how you can make it work as well. And I think for me and the guys I've got working here as well, it's just nice to have that that diversity in what we do, and also facing kind of new challenges rather than every day being the same grind. I can see Blackwater Polytechnic developing. I think with every project that kind of Ben or Freddie sort of puts in front of us, I think, because like I say, everything is so diverse and so different that I think as soon as you know what's going on or even what's coming ahead in the future, it already starts sort of tripping your brain into a position of starting to really think about what you can do to be part of it, and what input you can put into it. And we're always up for a fresh challenge, as I said, all sorts of weird and wonderful. But like I say, I like the thought process as much probably now as I do the actual application of the paint and that kind of thing.